You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
All right, we're live, but we got to let her breathe just for a moment here while we bring on our great Facebook community, and then we will kick this party off. We got things happening. We got rumors flying. Broncos just signed a guy. We're going to get to it all. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up Podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, as always, my partner in crime that you know and love. He is my fellow football priest and the deputy editor of milehighhuddle.com. He is Zack Kelberman. Zack, we got to talk about the rumors about just kind of where Phillip Lindsay might land. The Chiefs, according to Cecil Lammey, would take him in a heartbeat. We're going to get to all that here in just a few minutes. The first thing I want to talk about, though, off the cuff, is your gut reaction to the Denver Broncos signing a former George Paton acolyte, a running back that I think is basically their replacement for Phillip Lindsay.
Well, I have two thoughts on this off the bat. I don't really know a lot about Mike Boone other than he's pretty explosive when given the opportunity, but this to me confirms that Paton was the one, not necessarily Pat Shurmur or Vic Fangio or John Elway. He was the driving force behind the Broncos' decision to move on from Phillip Lindsay because, make no mistake, giving him the low round tender and exposing him to that market is essentially saying, listen, Lindsay, we don't see you in our future plans. If you find a better deal, go out and take it. We're not going to bring you back. So to me, that confirms that as well. And my other point, in terms of Mike Boone, the Broncos are pretty much swapping Phillip Lindsay for Phillip Lindsay, except this Phillip Lindsay is a little cheaper and less proven. So Paton must have seen something. Maybe he thinks he's a better pass catcher, like Cliff says, a better special teams player. But you're really pinching pennies again. And it reminds me last year what they did with Devontae Bosby, not giving him a tender and re-signing him for literally, $300,000 cheaper. I don't know about this. I'm still on the fence as to how I feel about the Broncos giving Lindsay that tender and disrespecting him for a second season in a row. I don't like it. But the pushback that I'm seeing on Broncos Twitter, oh, let him go. He doesn't matter anymore, Phillip Lindsay. He's a no one. Melvin Gordon's better. A year and a half ago, Phillip Lindsay was everyone's MVP. He was the biggest fan favorite in Denver, and rightfully so. And it's amazing now that Melvin Gordon comes along, and all because he has that name, and all because he's been giving that money and came within 10 yards of a 1,000-yard season, we want to discard a homegrown stud in Phillip Lindsay for an unknown Mike Boone. It still doesn't sit right with me, Chad, at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, when last we were live, we reacted to the news of the Broncos opting to tender Phillip Lindsay at the original round level as a restricted free agent, and the emotion was, and the shock was real, and it hasn't, it hasn't dissipated. I feel the exact same way, that it's a gross miscalculation, and I understand that, look, people out there in the media sphere within Denver are like, come on, guys, duh. If there's not if Phillip Lindsay doesn't fit the offense, then it's time for him to go. It's like, dude, you guys, you got to. You're looking at this the wrong way.
Right.
You're
How
looking
about fitting the offense to fit the running back?
Square peg, round hole. That's why you went 5-11, dog.
Right.
Square peg, round hole. Put it on the epitaph of Pat Shurmur, dude. When one day he's buried, hopefully that's not for another 50 years, right? For Pat, on his headstone, it's going to say square peg, round hole for life, right? LYFE. That's what I don't get, dude, is Phillip Lindsay is the guy that you actually you structure it around. But let's take a look real quick here, Zack. Mike Boone. Now, I know that Mike Boone was a big I know Eric Trickle did a lot of scouting on him coming out, whatever it was, 2017, I think, the 2017 draft class, if I'm not mistaken, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, 17. He really only has, if we look at his stats as a player, he's appeared technically in one game in which, two starts is what I meant to say. One of which, though, Zack, he went off. He had like 100 and some odd. Let me see. Let me go to his game. I'll find it. But he had over 100 yards rushing. He's an interesting player. Don't get me wrong. But like, you're tripping on an extra $1.2 million on Phillip Lindsay, but you're going to go give this dude $2.6 million guaranteed. Like, walk me through the logic. It makes no sense.
there's a consensus in the Broncos facility and the Broncos front office that Phillip Lindsay is replaceable. And I agree that running backs in today's age, unless you're, McCaffrey or in that stratosphere, then, you're liable to be replaced. But if you're going to get a guy who's explosive, but not necessarily a starter, an RB1, if you're going to have a Phillip Lindsay and replace the Phillip Lindsay, why not take care of the guy that's already in the building? Why not take care of the guy, like in the case of Justin Simmons? I don't understand, Chad, with the safety market not popping off, why they can't take care of him, but they're busy bringing in outside players. You had a Phillip Lindsay on the roster. And if you're going to have a committee at running back, why not just keep the guy that was doing well and use him correctly? That was my thing. I understand there's the concerns, even though he's not injury prone, he's actually played in a lot more games than people think he has. He's never fumbled before. He has a great yards per carry average. He really can do it all. And you're not satisfied with that, and you want to bring in your own guy. It just seems like it's a move for the sake of making a move. But there's this lingering because Peyton had no loyalty to Phillip Lindsay, no loyalty to anyone on the Broncos roster. So someone got in his ear that, okay, listen, Lindsay, he can go. We have Gordon, we have Freeman, we'll probably draft a running back. But it was Peyton that took it a step further that said, okay, I'm going to give him the low round tender, and then I'm going to target my guy from Minnesota that is pretty much Phillip Lindsay 2.0, if not a little less unproven.
Dude, it's almost like this is made to really – I don't know. It's like, well, first of all, it is a slap in the face, but to Phillip Lindsay. But second, it's almost like that parting blow where you're like, all right, a little extra motivation to make sure your agent works the phones, a little extra for you to find one or two suitors out there that'll pony up and pay more than the original round tender. Look at this. All right. Just bringing it back to Boone. Let's set Lindsay aside. And by the way, we're going to talk to MHH staff writer Kenneth Booker here in just a few minutes. We're going to dive into some of the buzz and rumors that are happening around Dove Valley here in just a second. Zach, I want to draw your attention to his crowning achievement, Mike Boone, that is, as a pro. Came in came in the season finale of 2019, all right, against a Chicago Bears team that was out of the playoffs. And he had to start in place of an injured Dalvin Cook, toted the rock 17 times. 148 yards. That's almost a 9-yard per carry clip. Touchdown. He had himself a very, very productive game. So if we take off just for a second, the Phillip Lindsay blinders, for lack of a better term, if you're looking for a solid number 3 running back that has some number 2 upside, Mike Boone is definitely a good candidate for that. It just, when you weigh it and it's juxtaposed against all the other factors, including Phillip Lindsay, the Melvin Gordon contract, what you might be able to do in the draft, this is now the second move thus far. In fact, both of Peyton's 2 outside signings up to this point, Zach, unfortunately come with some serious misgivings on my part.
The thing is, if this roster was just Melvin Gordon and Royce Freeman, I would say Mike Boone was a great pickup for the price, Chad. Getting that kind of running back and that kind of weapon, for 2.6 guaranteed was a great pickup. But when you already have a Mike Boone on the roster, it seems a little redundant to cut a homegrown guy or let him walk or let him seek other employment and potentially risk him to a rival like Kansas City when you're going to replace him with the same caliber of player. Except that Mike Boone is not a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher. Except the fact that Mike Boone is not a former Pro Bowler, except the fact that Mike Boone has no loyalty to Denver, and he wasn't a Broncos fan favorite who took TD's number and his salute and brought that mystique and that lore back to the Mile High City. I don't feel like I'm overstating that either, Chad, because again, and I saw a comment that I agree with, it shows the fickleness, and I've said this before, of the Broncos fan base. Same thing happened when the Broncos got Cortland Sutton. For as good as he was, the Broncos still had Demaryius Thomas, and everyone was like, all right, Demaryius, see you later. We don't care about you anymore. It's amazing how that happens. But Phillip Lindsay, you're going to see, guys, and I said this on Twitter, and I'll say it right here for everyone to see. He's going to go to a team like Kansas City or New England or San Francisco, and he's going to ball the F out. And you know what? I can't wait for it.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
So much more to get to. We're going to talk about the Phillip Lindsay rumor. All right, since we went a little bit long in the first segment, let's bring Kenneth on right now. We'll go through some other matters of business in just a few minutes. Kenneth Booker in the house, MHH staff writer, one of our own, right? But when I say one of your own, this is a cat that climbed up through the MHH community, and he's been an absolute stud as a staff writer at MHH so far. Kenneth, dude, what's good? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you? How are you gentlemen doing?
We're rolling with the punches.
Yes,
We're rolling with the punches.
Hi to everybody in the room.
Absolutely. So the first thing, so there's three questions we wanted to talk to you about here tonight. First and foremost, though, is the current event of obviously the Broncos just signed Mike Boone, the running back. We want your thoughts on that. And also what your reaction was to the decision to only original round tender Phillip Lindsay.
So the Mike Boone thing I just found out earlier today. Looked up some of his highlights. He is pretty exciting on some of his he's got some nice bursts. He's got a nice little shiftiness, and then he just hits the gas and he's gone. That was in Cincinnati, some of the film I saw on him. He was really nice, but like Zach said, he'd be nice if it was Melvin Gordon and Royce Freeman. He would compliment them well. But to replace Lindsay with him, it's like you say, is replacing the same exact player essentially, but with like one less Pro Bowl appearances, 2 less 1,000-yard seasons. And Phillip Lindsay is just a true asset to the locker room. He gets everybody going. I've watched the kid since he's played at CU. I was upset then when they didn't invite him to the combine. And when he went undrafted, I just didn't understand why teams disrespected him so much when all he did was prove himself on the field.
Kenneth, let me get your overall so far through, 3 days of the 2021 free agent signing period. How would you grade George Paton overall as Broncos GM? His first big foray into the open market, signing Darby, bringing back, Shelby Harris, now signing Mike Boone, letting Phillip Lindsay go, letting Kareem Jackson go, picking up Von Miller. How would you assess George Paton's performance through the first couple of days?
There's a lot of pressure on him, especially with the Von Miller thing. I appreciate that he tried to restructure a deal to make it take a little less money and help out the team. I do understand the players not wanting to do that because when it's flipped the other way, the team doesn't really care. Like, not the Denver Broncos per se, but just NFL in general. They always want the players to take the discount. But when it's the other way around, they'll just cut the player, kind of with Phillip Lindsay. But I'm still glad that Von Miller came back. I was really excited about seeing him last year, and then when he injured his ankle, it just really bummed me out because I was really expecting a huge season from him and Chubb. Kareem Jackson, I kind of knew he was on his way out. It's too bad. I really liked watching him play, him laying them hits, even though he knocked one of our own players out.
Good times.
But he just brought a lot of energy to the defense and can totally change the whole attitude in the game with a big hit. As for Darby, I was kind of stunned that they picked up Darby. I remember him getting traded to Philadelphia a few years ago. I knew a little bit about him, and I knew he had a lot of talent, but then I just didn't hear about him anymore. Then when he came to us, I was like, the $30 million, I was like, man, that's kind of a lot. But then I looked at some of his film, and even though he didn't get the interceptions, he found himself in the right position at the right time at all times. He understood the player he was playing against. He understood the situation. He broke up a lot of the passes. He was never out of position, and when he was out of position, he had the speed to catch up and cover up his mistakes.
I've warmed up a little bit on the Darby signing, and I'll tell you why. If Vic Fangio and Ed Donatel think that he was the best option for the scheme, then I'm going to trust that, because even last year, guys, think about this, man. The Broncos, decimated by injury in the secondary, especially at corner. AJ Bouye goes down week 1 with the shoulder. And then, Michael Ojemudia has to be vaulted up and he's playing early. Then it's Devontae Bosby. Then it's, what was the other Devontae? Harris, right? And then you get to the end of the season and it's Motley. A lot of no names. And it was duct tape, bubble gum, toothpicks, whatever they could use to kind of stitch together and keep the secondary viable. And they still fielded a competent passing defense. And Fangio and Donatel, I think it goes without saying that they're one of the best in the NFL when it comes to basically getting the most out of their DB talent. So if they believe that this dude has that fit, I'll trust that. Where my misgivings come in, Kenneth, is simply the injury history relative to the contract. I would figure that someone that has that much of a injury jacket on his resume. Only 1 year. It's similar to Bryce Callahan, but way more money. Only 1 year with a 16-game full season under his belt, and he's entering his 7th year. I would expect that his contract would reflect that a little bit more. But then again, it does become a little bit of a numbers game, boys, because it's what the market will bear. If there were teams out there willing to pay 12 or 13 or whatever, it's the market decides where that figure comes in. But I know you've warmed up quite a bit, Kenneth, to the Darby signing.
Yeah, I thought when I saw the film, it looked really well, especially against the caliber of players he was playing against. But just the money was a little thing I had the issue with, especially with the injury history we were talking about. Yeah, it's just really hard when somebody goes out. And then I don't know what they're gonna do. Are they gonna bring in another free agent, or are they gonna? Is that something for him to pass the torch to Caleb Farley or Surtain? I don't know what's going to happen. I hope for the best. I think if he stays healthy, he'll be a good player. I think he'll contribute. And I think he might even up his turnovers because he was in position on a lot of those plays to make the turnover. But time will tell, I guess.
The thing to me about the money, though, it's like Mike Hilton got a contract. He got, I think, $4 million less a year than what Darby's getting. I think he's getting $6 a year, where I just feel it's indisputable. The Broncos might have gotten a good cornerback and a good corner for their system, but to pay the guy $30 million over 10, give him 18.5, whatever it was guaranteed, I think I'd be hard pressed to say I look at that contract and say it was a good deal by Rich Hurtado and by George Paton from a financial standpoint. Yeah,
it seemed like they were competing against themselves. I don't know about any other teams that were bidding for his services, but I didn't hear anything. So it just seemed like they could have came in with a little bit of lower offer and just felt him out and see how it played out. And then also with not Darby, but with Shelby Harris, I was kind of surprised on how much money he got. Because the word out there was he was anywhere from 6.5 to 8.5, and when it was like $9 million, I guess average out to $9 million a year, I was kind of surprised they were willing to give him that much money. I love him, and I think in the end it's a good deal. But I was just surprised that they went that high on him.
My guess is that there were some offers out there that were, they had to either match or beat some offers out there, and that's probably the ballpark that they were in. And they had to do something, Zach, because you lose Shelby Harris, you already cut Jarrell Casey. It's Draymond Jones or bust, and you're still hoping Mike Purcell bounces back to pre-injury form with that Lisfranc. As we saw with Ryan Clady, man, Lisfrancs can be naggers. They can come back. They can linger, touch and go. This is why I would recommend the Broncos re-sign DeMarcus Walker. He wouldn't break the bank, and he would come back on, I think, a relatively short-term, low-value contract, give the Broncos some veteran defensive line depth. But, Chad, can we just talk about apparently breaking news that Patrick Peterson signed a contract with the Vikings, 1 year, $10 million. So you mean to tell me you're paying Ronald Darby on the same level as Patrick Peterson? Again, I think it's indisputable to say the Broncos overpaid just a little bit for Darby services. Yeah. All right, real quick, let me grab a couple super chats. By the way, guys, you know how we do on this show and Mile High Huddle. We're going to get to every single super chat. Please be patient. We love you. We appreciate you. Bama Broncos, a.k.a. Brandon Harden. Appreciate you, dog. He says the Broncos show no love to Phillip Lindsay. And, yeah, you're right, man. And unfortunately, it has become a pattern, right? It's a pattern. But, Kenneth, we got one more for you, and then we're going to cut you loose for tonight. Thanks for making some time for us. And here's a super chat message from Mohammed, who says, Kenneth in the house. Appreciate you, Mohammed. Your article, and by the way, gang, after this podcast, go read Kenneth's article titled 3 Areas to Address, plus a non-negotiable need for the Broncos to compete in 2021. Some good stuff, but I'm not going to spoil it. I just want to scroll down to the last thing here that you bring up. Here's the non-negotiable point, all right? Locke must show growth. Now, maybe some editorial license on my part to throw in this non-negotiable. The reason I threw that in there just as a little kind of, supplement to your points here were that look at the teams the Broncos had in 2016 as an example, right? Go 9-7. You basically have almost the identical twin of your 2015 world champion squad minus the quarterback, You still won 9 games by virtue of just how strong that roster was, but it still wasn't enough to even get you in the dance because you did not have the quarterback. Von Miller is the poster child for that exact, we're one quarterback, middle of the road quarterback away from winning it all again. It's just a dead philosophy that has proven that it doesn't work. Drew Lock has to turn the corner. I agree with you on that. Explain just some of the things you had to say about Lock, what he needs to progress, what he needs to show, and why that's so important.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
So Drew just needs to I think in the beginning of this season for Drew, the interior line was collapsing on him so much and so fast that he kind of almost got a PTSD because later in the season he was like bailing out no matter what to the right side of rolling out to the right side, even though the pocket was holding up. He was just assuming it was going to collapse. He needs to step into his throws more. He needs to, of course, work on his footwork. He was doing some stuff that I was saw them breaking down some video about him, where he was starting to make the progressions on the reads and starting to get better with the football IQ. Mm-hmm. But he would add like little tiny things, like it was a quick out, or it was like I think it was a hook, a route to Judy, and he threw a little hop in there, and it threw off the timing just enough to where it gave the cornerback just enough time to break on the ball and break it up and almost do a pick six on it. So if he can clean up some of that stuff and just learn to take what the defense gives him and to live in it, to fight another day, the defense is good enough to where if he doesn't do the turnovers, we can flip the field. The defense can and do their part, whatever, and every once in a while he'll get what he was giving is the ball at the 50 or the 40-yard line to where they have good chances to punch it in for a touchdown. But we'll see. As long as Melvin Gordon, when he's going across the line, he doesn't fumble it.
Yeah,
it's our goal line defense. Our offense was atrocious. We couldn't get in the end zone, and Drew had some parts to do with it, especially in that I think it was the last Raiders game right before the half where he threw the interception right on the goal line when they had scored previously, but there was a holding call.
Yeah.
He's just got to work on his X's and O's, and he's got to definitely clean up that footwork and just continue to do his homework on the game.
Well, dude, guys, go read the article from Kenneth Booker, who's been working consistently, been working furiously since we brought him on board as a staff writer. And I've been really proud of you and just impressed with your dedication, your work ethic, your content, your insights. It's been great, my friend. And a message here from Mark Langley, bona fide superstar. He says, "What's up, my guys? Kenneth, what's up, my man? Good to see you. Hashtag huddle up pod. Hashtag football priest. Hashtag hey John. Hashtag MHH." So some love from the community. I think
Pueblo win.
There you go. But thanks for joining us, my friend. We'll talk to you here very, very soon.
All right, sounds good. It was great to be on the show, and thank you. Appreciate it. And everybody have a great night. Go Broncos.
Follow Kenneth on Twitter at KennethMHH. That's his new handle, at KennethMHH. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Take care. All right, real quick, Zach. Let me just bring John up to speed real quick. We got to get Andy, John, Edward, Chris, Levi, Brandon, David, and then we're current with where I'm at, and then we'll see where the stream jumps. Andy Young, appreciate the super chat. Andy, he says, the Lindsay to KC report sounded like clickbait. Well, I mean, look, what we do here, we tell you that we are the best Broncos coverage online. We're also, the reason we say that is that we are the most comprehensive site, publication, whatever you want to call it, on the internet. We cover it all. We get it all. Whether it's a report, a rumor, buzz, as long as there is something founded there, all right, then we're going to run with it. And when it comes to this particular report that Zach wrote up today, it comes from a guy that we know, all right, and we trust when he says, I'm hearing that the Kansas City Chiefs would welcome Phillip Lindsay with open arms, Cecil Lammey. We take that to the bank. We take that to, we believe that. So clickbait, whatever you want to call it, dude, it's just, we're just passing on what we're hearing.
And I use the term specifically and deliberately. I use the word potential signing because it could be a potential signing if he hits the open market, which we think he will now. He's a restricted free agent, and the Broncos signed his replacement more than likely. Not only would they welcome him, though, Chad, the second part of that quote from Lammy was the one that got me. They said they would know how to use him. Mm-hmm. Period. End of story. Point blank.
Absolutely. I'm going to pull it up here to riff on here as we talk. John, thank you for the super chat, my friend. He says, sign Eric Wilson, the linebacker, and Keanu Neal. I'm complete. Yeah, dude, we're curious to see what happens with Eric Wilson. It would not surprise either of us, Zach, to see him land in Denver. Keanu Neal, before Kareem was cut, it was like, nah, you don't need him, right? Beyond 2021, maybe it makes some sense, but now you did create a pretty serious hole, Zach, at safety. And I'll say strong safety, even though the way Fangio uses his safeties is kind of, they're basically equals. They do the same things. They switch off and on. But still, you need a safety presence now. And I know you're bringing back Trey Marshall as a exclusive rights free agent, but that only guarantees him a shot in training camp. He's not proven.
No, and I definitely agree with what you're saying there, Chad. Honestly, 100% of the way. I think you have it. We're sharing a brain on that topic.
Edward Keating. By the way, Edward, we're really stoked to have you on the show here in the very near future, my friend. He's and thank you for that very generous super chat, dog. He says Lindsay's gone, and I have a feeling since Simmons ain't signed yet that we, are going to trade him and picks for Deshaun Watson. What do you guys think? Thanks, Chad and Zach. Denver Broncos for life. # state of being. Appreciate you, my friend. I don't think Simmons is getting traded. No, I don't. I think there's still a decent possibility, that Deshaun Watson could land in Denver. We learned yesterday from Michael Lombardi, former NFL executive, former GM of the Browns. He's a Bill Belichick acolyte. He's doing media now, I think, for The Athletic, if I'm not mistaken, Zach. But he said that the rumor he's hearing from his plugged-in circles is that Deshaun wants San Fran or Denver. Those are the two places he wants to go. But then you got to wonder, too, Zach, what's going on with these new we don't like to get into speculation on legal matters, but these not charges, but lawsuits that are being brought against him from female masseuses that are claiming he did inappropriate stuff.
Yeah, him and Robert Kraft. But I think that's a lot of, I would say, malarkey in terms of the Deshaun Watson. It seems like a money grab. I'm not going to speculate. It could be something serious. I'm not taking that too much seriously. But Michael Lombardi, who I've talked about before, I really don't trust the source in this case. This is a guy who's a former GM for a reason. He's going on podcasts and TV shows and radio hits and saying all these things. He said that Deshaun Watson has narrowed his choices down to San Fran, like you said, or Denver. Is it any coincidence those are the two teams so far that have not made any quarterback moves? Apparently, he doesn't want to play for New York or Miami. It doesn't really matter who he wants to play for, though. The Texans still own his rights, Chad, even though he has no trade clause, and they would want the better draft pick. In that case, it'd be the Jets, the number 2 overall pick compared to number 9 overall. Even Carolina is more realistic because they have number 8 overall. It could happen. I still think he will be traded eventually, Deshaun Watson, but I just don't think he's coming to Denver. I don't want to make the whole pod, though. Another Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Chris P says, and thank you for the super chat, Chris. Really means a lot to us, dog. You've really come on strong. I would say 2021, you've just been consistent, my friend. So we really appreciate it. Keep it up. You're becoming a bona fide superstar in MHH. He says, I've changed my mind. I think Watson is heading to Denver. So we'll see, my friend. I mean, right now it's all rumor and conjecture, but we shall see.
And let me just say something about the safeties real quick. Keanu Neal, he's injury. I don't think he's a long-term answer if the Broncos want to bring aboard a safety. They can re-sign Will Parks for, a short-term contract. And I think the next safety, the starting safety, is coming through the draft. So just to add on to that point, that's where I think they'll go at that spot.
All right, let's get to this quote real quick. And John, keep the supers coming. I want to get to this, what Cecil's had to say on this topic here. Of course, Cecil Lammey of 104.3 The Fan, one of the co-hosts of the Nick and Cecil show on weeknights. Quote, I talked to enough people around the NFL to know that Phillip Lindsay is going to get plenty of attention now that he's tendered original round RFA. One person today told me that the Chiefs would welcome Lindsay with open arms and, quote, know what to do with him, closed quote. So that's where the story came from. And Zach, where in that story is anything that would lead you to believe there's not some veracity, some kernels of truth to that? If I'm making a bold prediction now, and I hope it doesn't happen, I'm knocking on wood. Lindsay leaves Denver. He's going to go to an established offense. It's either going to be Kansas City, it's going to be San Francisco, it's going to be New England, it's going to be Tampa Bay, somewhere with either an established quarterback or an established system, like in Shanahan's case, or even in McDaniel's case in New England. It's a system that's established and proven that they can say, look, we'll plug you in, we'll kind of tweak our scheme around you. I could see him doing it easy. I think it's going to happen. And Cecil, dude, listen, Cecil's been in this game a long time. All right. And he's especially plugged in on the scouting side of things, right? He knows the scouts around the league. He knows the draftniks. He's got a lot of contacts in this league and in this business. And Zach, if he's hearing that about the Chiefs, I believe that it's not just smoke. There's some fire there. So Broncos fans, be on guard.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Yeah, this is, it's pretty much a rumor. It's speculation, but if Lammy passes it along, it's worth paying attention to. And a team that you didn't mention that I agree with all the ones that you did, but Baltimore, can you imagine Lamar Jackson running those RPOs, running those, those creative type runs, him in tandem with J.K. Dobbins? You put him in pretty much any system. Andy Reid with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that 1-2 punch, the same thing the Broncos have wanted to do for a long time, whether it's C.J. Anderson, Devontae Booker, Freeman, and Phillip Lindsay. He would have that in Kansas City. I just think if he goes to a team, which I think he will, that has an established, creative, elite coaching staff, he will be used correctly, and I think he'll show the Broncos what they're missing.
Levi, bona fide superstar in the house. Everyone now has gotten a chance to meet Levi, who was on the show very recently. Good to see you, my friend, and we appreciate you. He says, hey, fellas, let's get Simmons signed. I'm on the fence about Peyton's free agent acquisitions. Yeah, I mean, other than the decision to bring back Vaughn, which I think was the right call, barring a restructure / extension, just picking up the option and seeing if he can bounce back. Because if Vaughn does bounce back, and let me put it this way, if Vaughn stays healthy, I think it's a relatively safe bet that he's going to bounce back. Is he going to bounce back to 2015 form? Probably not. But all the buzz on Vaughn last summer, Zach, that's what made it all the more tragic when he suffered that injury. Because, I mean, even Vic Fangio, who's big reason why the Broncos picked up that option on Vaughn, was like, look, George, this dude was a beast. He was set to have his biggest season as a pro yet, and then the injury bug. So as long as he stays healthy, I think it's relatively safe to expect him to get right back into the double-digit sack land. But aside from Vaughn and Harris, and then obviously tendering Tim Patrick, tendering Alexander Johnson, everything else up to this point, lukewarm.
At the second level, at the second round level, tendering them and doing what he wouldn't do with Phillip Lindsay. Listen, I give Peyton a lot of credit for Kareem Jackson. I think he made the right move. And like we said on Monday's pod, or I said, it's better to move on from a player a year too early than a year too late. And they can get much better at that spot. He was way expensive. In terms of Von, I think that was the right call as well. Yes, he's expensive, but he's still Von Miller. And a lot of fans seem to forgot about that. They said they were talking like he was Shane Wright. He's still Von Miller. He's a future Hall of Fame pass rusher and a first ballot one at that. And I think what the Broncos want to do, at least in this year, it being kind of an incumbent status quo transitional year, I think they want to see what Von Miller and Bradley Chubb can do together on the field in an improved defense with an improved secondary and improved front line, healthy together and wreaking havoc on opposing offenses. Aside from overpaying Darby, which is, to me, indisputable, and not tendering Phillip Lindsay, I think Peyton's done pretty well for himself the first couple of days.
Brandon, again, appreciate you, my friend, on the super. He says, do you think that Elway is pulling strings? I really don't think too much. I think he's probably made a few recommendations early on. And because what happens is, the pro personnel department, they do the scouting, right, of the coming free agent class. And then they also have a section where guys we think might be cap casualty types that we should be prepared for if they end up hitting the market. Then they create a free agent big board, just like in the draft, and then they submit it to the GM. And I'm sure Elway has seen that very same submittals act, that same free agent big board. My guess would be that he probably made a few suggestions. But I think, honestly, up to this point, my gut is that this has mostly been Peyton working in lockstep with Fangio.
It might be naive on our part, but I'm right there with you. I think Elway has been what he said he was going to be, and that's a sounding board for George Paton. He's a figurehead in the Broncos building who knows the current roster. He put it together, and I think he's there for Paton to come in and say, listen, I'm thinking about not tendering Phillip Lindsay. How would you rate him? How did he do last year? How would you, associate him with this offense? And I think he gives him his advice, but by no means is Elway greenlighting these moves or having final say. I truly believe it's George Paton's baby, and he's acting as such.
Hey, real quick, gang, make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at HuddleUpPod and our main account at Mile High Huddle. You won't miss anything Bronco-related or pod-related if you have both those accounts followed. And my partner, Zack Kelberman, at Kelberman NFL, myself, at Chad and Jensen, and our great producer, Buana Beast, on Twitter, at John K, that's Kaymhh. Find him. Also, a quick reminder, we ended up, we'll have to do this tomorrow night because I ended up spacing doing the giveaway, like the random selection for the Huddle Up Podcast Facebook page. So we'll announce that tomorrow night. But you can still get in on that. We haven't done the actual selection yet, for what it's worth. So go to Facebook, open up the app, search Huddle Up Podcast, like and follow the page, and you'll be automatically entered into those giveaways once a week for the foreseeable future. We're going to be giving away a shirt, a hat, a mug, something, little piece of MHH swag to a randomly selected fan who's both following and liking that page. All right. Also, guys, we're middle of the week. It's already hump day. Time flies. That's the nature of the beast. We're going to have this weekend more additional VIP premium video content for our supporters on Facebook. If you want in on Kelberman's Corner, which is Sunday at noon, if you want in on the Trickle Zone, which is Saturday at noon, go to the Facebook page for Mile High Huddle. Click the big blue button, become a supporter. You're in like Flynn. Check out the merch store, huddleuppod.com. Get your swag on, get a hat, get a tee. And then if you're not in a position to do those things, we do ask you do these three things. All right, subscribe, first and foremost. Number two, like this video, especially on Facebook and YouTube, guys. If you even remotely respect the effort we're putting in for you, at least like the video. You have no idea how much that helps us. And if you really appreciate what we're doing, the litmus test for us is number three. Share it out there and help us continue to grow and reach new, like-minded, passionate, hardcore, dedicated Broncos fans just like you. All right, John, let's I'm pretty current here. So perfect. David Kilgore, been waiting patiently, a superstar. We had the privilege of having him on the show just a few weeks ago. It was great to talk to you then, David. Appreciate you, man. He says, since we have not got a veteran quarterback, you guys think that Watson might still be in play for the Broncos? I think he's in play. It's just a question of degrees. I thought it was interesting, Zach. John McClain, of course, of the Houston Chronicle. He's Houston's Mike Kliss, right? He said that the Houston Texans haven't said that they're not going to trade Deshaun Watson since January. And so to him, that means they're planning on trading him. So we'll see. I mean, at this point, Zach, it's pure speculation. It's still pure speculation and rumor, but it's still in the wind. It could happen.
Right. The longer the Broncos don't go signing or acquiring a veteran quarterback, and the longer that Deshaun Watson goes without being traded, obviously keeps the Broncos in contention for him. I just still think it's kind of unrealistic, depending on what they're asking Houston, that Peyton is going to meet that asking price. In my mind, though, Chad, what was really almost improbable or impossible a couple weeks ago is now starting to creep up on me. The idea of Peyton maybe drafting a quarterback at number 9 or, moving back in the first round and taking a quarterback, I think that's more likely, even though it's still unlikely overall. I think that's more likely than Broncos acquiring Deshaun Watson. But until one of those situations is resolved, there's always going to be the possibility.
All right, here's one from John Houston again. Thank you, brother. Literally got a Phillip Lindsay jersey for Christmas. You know what? Even if Lindsay walks, which I think that's the way the momentum's rolling, Phillip Lindsay is always going to own a special place in Broncos history and a special place, I think, in the heart of the fans. Even if he defects, Zach, and goes to like Kansas City or the Raiders or the freaking Chargers, he's always going to have that special place in fans' hearts, and not just because he's a former Bronco, but because he's a Denver original, right? Grows up in Denver, plays at CU in Boulder, goes on to play for the Broncos, and doesn't just go on to play for the Broncos. This dude was an unprecedented, dynamic producer for this team, a star. All right. Never before has an undrafted rookie gone on to a Pro Bowl in their first season as a rookie. It's never happened before. So Lindsay checks that box. And then, hey, guess what's also never happened before? No undrafted running back has ever rushed for 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons to open their career. Lindsay's like, here, hold my beer. Boom, done, right? And then the Broncos go, Melvin Gordon. So that's all aside. Let's put that aside. He's always going to have that special place, I think, in everyone's heart. So I think your jersey, man. Look, if I owned a jersey of Phillip Lindsay, I'd just be planning on putting that sucker in a shadow box and putting it on the wall because he is, I've been a fan my whole life of the Denver Broncos. As someone covering the team, he is one of my top 5 players to cover for the Denver Broncos all time.
Yes, that's extremely well said, and I think a lot of Broncos fans, or the majority of Broncos country, should respect what Phillip Lindsay has done for the team if this is indeed his last offseason with the organization, and I think it is. He's always going to be, and he should be, a fan favorite. And you know what? A lot of Broncos fans still had love and still respected Chris Harris Jr. after he left and joined the Chargers. If, let's say, Lindsay leaves and joins the Chiefs or the Patriots, you got to give him credit for what he accomplished. I mean, to go from undrafted, 6th string, work his way up to starter, Pro Bowl, 1,000-yard guy, living in his parents' house. I mean, he was truly one of the biggest success underdog stories in Broncos history and recent NFL history. And like you said, covering this team, Chad, from a professional standpoint, I will always be a Phillip Lindsay fan. I will always root for him.
Plus, I mean, that cool anecdote that just adds to the legend of him saying, hey, guess what? You made the team. You're on the 53. Pick a jersey. Here's what's available to you. He's like, 30. Nah, better call TD. Gets on the phone, calls Terrell Davis, and gets approval, right? Gets the rubber stamp from a Hall of Fame guy. That just adds to the class act that Phillip Lindsay is. He's been done dirty. I'm sorry, guys, but that's just the truth. Jeremy, dude, thank you, bro. That's amazing. What a very generous super chat. Not the first time that Black Knight 232 has shown that level of generosity to the channel, to our show. So, Jeremy, I hope you know we love you. We appreciate you. And I think the last correspondence we had, you got your new device. So let's get it booked, dude. Let's figure out when you're going to be on the show, because you and I have talked in person on the phone before, but we've never had you on the show. So we look forward to that. Let us know when that's going to work for you. He says here, Zach, my free agency grade for Peyton for the Broncos so far, B-. Let's draft a quarterback in the first round instead of trading for Watson. I'm thinking that we'll be turning the roster over after this season. Well, I feel you. But, Zach, here's the thing to consider, and Jeremy, you as well, or anyone with this point of view. If Vic Fangio is indeed a lame duck head coach, which he is, right? If the Broncos don't win this year, and no rookie quarterback, I'm sorry, is going to help the be the difference between the Broncos either not making the playoffs or making the playoffs, very few exceptions to that rule, then guess what? Now you got to go out and hire a new coaching staff, and that guy that you drafted in round 1 isn't this new coach's guy. You got to basically try and force that pair bond to happen, and it doesn't work out too often for NFL teams. There are some exceptions, but I can think of the LA Rams when Sean McVay arrived to kind of salvage the Jared Goff pick. There are a few examples of it working out, but most of the time it doesn't.
You know, it else doesn't work out most of the time, a GM being saddled with an incumbent head coach and not being able to pick his own head coach in his first year. So the Broncos have a weird, unique arrangement as it is. And Jeremy, first of all, thank you so much again. That's so completely generous of you. But I'm not quite 100% there yet, but it's creeping up on me, that feeling that maybe number 9, if Trey Lance is there or they go to Mac Jones Pro Day and they're impressed with him, there's a chance now, and it's kind of growing in my mind, more likely than a Deshaun Watson trade, that Peyton can pull the trigger, because he has no loyalty to Fangio. Let's be honest, Chad. He's worried about his own job and building the Broncos sustainably for the long haul. If Vic Fangio is a friendly fire or a casualty because of that, then so be it. If a quarterback is there that he thinks he can win with for the next 10 years, 5-10 years, I think he would pull that trigger on him at a reduced cost compared to a Deshaun Watson.
Real quick, John and Jeremy, thanks, bro. Love you, buddy. Let me grab this from Josh, who's been waiting patiently, and then we're going to grab Dave. Josh, good to see you, my friend. It's really been a joy having you in the community, especially the things you and I have in common, right, with the music we like. But appreciate you, man. He says, I hate to see how Lindsay is being treated. The kid has a damn good story, coming up and has done nothing but succeed when he was used correctly. Shake my head. We feel you, man. It really is mystifying and frustrating, and I wish I could tell you I understood it, but other than just the cold-hearted way of the NFL, the business, Gary, thank you for the stars. Other than, just it doesn't have to be that way, though. It really doesn't. I could understand if Phillip Lindsay either was, hadn't performed or had a couple of years under his belt where it was like last year, but it was 1 year where he was pretty consistently injured. And if you ask him, it has a lot to do with how he was used. Up the gut, boom, boom. 25 carries later, we'll give you like a pull or a trap. We'll do something to try and get you on the edge, but don't hold your breath.
How about a toss or a screen pass? I mean, how many did we see overall last year from Pat Shurmur? And the comment from Josh there was spot on. The preface, the condition that when used correctly, he's done nothing but succeed. And that's why he did so well in 2018. And credit to the Broncos coaching staff. They got the ball in his hands in space. They got the ball to the outside and let him do what he does best. And that's make plays with his speed and his shiftiness. They went away from that last year and the year before actually and ran Phillip Lindsay like he was Royce Freeman, like he was a 230-pound running back. He is not that. That's what I'm telling you guys. If or when he goes to a team with a coaching staff like a Sean McVay or a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, he is going to ball out. And again, I cannot wait to see that.
Dave from Georgia, good to see you, brother. Did we set up the time for you to come on? I know that we talked about it, but I just so I don't forget real quick. We got Ed Keating next week. The week after, I'm on vacation. We don't have a book. Then it's Mark Langley on the 7th. Dave, what about the 14th or 21st? Let me know, because I know you emailed me. Did we lock down a date? Just remind me, dude, and I'll put it in my phone, because if we did, I forgot to put it in my phone, and that we need to check that box. So let me know. Appreciate you, dog. He says the over-under on how many game-killing fumbles Gordon has next year. # Broncos, # state of me. I would say 2. 2 would be the over-under, probably.
How many bottles of wine? 2?
Indeed. Touche. All right, real quick, John. So we went from Dave, we need Tony D.A. Dub. And hold on, it's doing the stream just jumped on me real quick. We got a lot to get to, though, so we got to kind of rapid fire because we don't miss a superstar here. We got Tony D.A. Dub. Muhammad, we got Muhammad. Christy, Burn the Guitarist, Christian. We got Mark. We need Tony G, Crudum, Willie, K-Hop, Anthony, Brandon again, Gavin, Michaela, and then we're about where we need to be, so FYI. Tony, good to see you, bro. Keenum does not look so bad now after all the backups making bank, LOL. What targets left do you guys like at this point? Well, if you're talking quarterback, for me, it's really only Alex Smith. For me, Zach and I don't perfectly share a brain on Alex Smith, but for what's left, I mean, the quarterback market has really settled, Zach. And I mean, you can interpret that one of 3 ways. All right. Either Peyton did not like this free agent quarterback class, which wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, or he really loves Drew a lot more than is being led on, or at least is planning on rolling with Drew, is more committed to that than has been led on. Or it's quarterback or bust in the first round. It's one of those 3 things.
Yeah, we kind of differ on Alex Smith, but we definitely agree he's the best of the bunch, and it's not even close. But one quarterback, I put this out on Twitter yesterday, one quarterback that no one's really talking about that could be signed right now today is Nick Mullins from the Niners. Again, he's young but experienced. He's groomed by Kyle Shanahan, which we all know it's Kyle Shanahan. And he'd come so much cheaper than an Andy Dalton who got $10 million, whatever he got, $12 million, Tyrod Taylor. These quarterbacks, Jameis Winston, these backup types, Fitzpatrick, they're all getting between $10 and $12 million. I really don't want that for a guy who might not play next year if Locke kind of balls out. So Nick Mullins is an option, but failing that, it's a Deshaun Watson trade, a trade or a draft pick, or a trade on the open market for someone like, and I hope not, God do I hope not, Gardner Minshew. I don't want him.
I still don't understand any pull whatsoever to Gardner Minshew if your quarterback is Drew Lock. If you had a more proven, established quarterback and Gardner Minshew's available to you, by the way, you got to trade if you want Gardner Minshew. But if he's available to you, okay, bring him in as like a backup with maybe a hint of some upside. But as a fail-safe, he's not a fail-safe. He's the antithesis of a fail-safe. George, man, top rope indeed.
Wow. Thank you,
Good to see you.
Wow.
Good to see you, man. Thank you. Give our best to Jasmine. Hope everything's going good in your neck of the woods. By the way, that's George's daughter. Single dad, props to you, my friend. I can't even imagine that. So good to see you. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you, dog. He says, in from the top rope, I don't want Watson. Give me one more year with Locke. I hope Denver matches any team that gives Lindsay a contract. Considering how young the team is and all the injuries last season, George Payton needs to see what he really has in this team. So George is all about Zach. Drew, one last year. And I don't think it's a blind, like this is a good example of a fan. I don't think it's blind support for Drew. It's not a Drew Lock stan, all right? This is a guy that just says, look, you've gone this far with Drew. Go one last, you brought back Fangio, you're bringing back Shermer. One last go-around on the old merry-go-round, and then you'll know. And if it's no dice, then Peyton really is getting to start over from scratch, pick of the litter this time next year.
It doesn't matter anyway. If he wins, that's great. If he loses, the Broncos lose this year, Peyton's safe anyway. It's a honeymoon season. It doesn't matter what he does, but I thought going in he would want to take one last look at the incumbent and see what he can do given a proper circumstance. And he talked up Locke quite a bit. He saw him every day in the facility. It still could very well be that. They could be making a move right now behind the scenes for a quarterback, for a veteran like, again, God forbid, a Gardner Minshew, but we don't really know until the draft rolls around because any Deshaun Watson deal will be consummated before April 28th because of draft picks and the compensation. So we will know in about 5 weeks who the Broncos week 1 quarterback will be.
All right, we got a very generous super from the queen of MHH, some bona fide MHH Mount Rushmore superstars in the house tonight, including the queen. Thank you, Christy. You know how much we love you and appreciate all your contributions to MHH Canon. And it's not just a super chat. It's, every single pod. She's even chipped in on one of our best-selling T-shirts on the merch store, Zach, the shirt she designed. And she's just great, man. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Christy. She says, everyone wants their opinion to be the opinion that sticks. Obviously, that can't happen, and really nobody knows what will. The whole point in being a fan is to cheer on our team together. Thanks for keeping it real, guys. Much love to you. Thank you, Christy.
It's true. You have to root for the player whose number is on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. I know it's a cliche and people kind of are sickened by hearing that, but if Locke is the quarterback for 2021, regardless of how you feel about him personally, root for him to succeed because that would mean the Broncos will succeed. I think it's a fairly simple mindset to have.
That's like last year, when we had our misgivings about the Melvin Gordon signing. We weren't sitting here watching every game like on pins and needles hoping he fumbled.
Exactly.
We wanted him to prove us wrong, that it was the best decision for the team. And the same goes for right now with Ronald Darby, where I'm a little bit lukewarm. I've warmed up on it. I want that dude to be the next freaking Aqib Talib, transplant that goes on to have an even better career at the next place.
Chad, everyone knows, including you, how I feel and felt about Joe Flacco, but when he was first acquired, no, I did not think it would work out well for the Broncos, but I wasn't actively rooting for him to fail. I wasn't actively rooting for the Broncos to fail so he would get replaced. I was still rooting for him to do well because it meant the Broncos would do well. I think it's just very common sense. I'm surprised at people who don't adopt that mindset.
All right, we got one here from Zach, a.k.a. Burn, the guitarist. Good to see you, bro. Appreciate you. Wow, we got a running back that averaged 5 yards per carry last season. Much needed to fill the hole in the foot that we shot. Yeah, from the running back that you're basically moving on from that averages 5 yards per carry.
They went in front of a hospital and shot themselves in the foot. So it's like they were prepared to lose one running back and replace him with literally the same caliber of player. It's a 1-for-1 swap, except that Mike Boone is cheaper and he's less proven. It must be a Tom McMahon signing, Chad, that the job power that he wields inside Dove Valley, he might have campaigned for Mike Boone to come on down. We do not know.
All right, here's Christian. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for that super chat, you have become a bona fide superstar. So thank you, my friend. Reach out to us, shoot us an email. Let's get you a t-shirt. The time has come. And by the way, when you get that t-shirt, we need the selfie when you get it. All right. Shoot that to us. He says, with all these free agent quarterbacks flying off the board, does this show more or less confidence in Luck? And do you guys see Watson wants to come to San Francisco or here? Did you see that? Yeah, we did see it. I do think that it actually, again, it's one of three things. And one of those three things is he has a lot more confidence in Luck as the option this year. Doesn't mean he's like true blue believer, thinks Luck's going to be the man, but he at least has said, look, there's enough there that I think it's in our best interest to roll with Luck this year and be confident in that. I'm more inclined to lean that way. I mean, MHH had the opportunity to talk with Jim Mora, former NFL head coach in a Division I, Pac-12, UCLA, doing NFL draft and college analysis for ESPN and Sports Illustrated. He thinks pick 9, Zach, is wide open and he knows Vic Fangio, right? Because his dad, Jim Mora Sr., right, was Vic Fangio's boss and really did a lot to help advance Vic Fangio's career back around the time Peyton Manning entered the league and Vic was the defensive coordinator in Indy. He knows Vic very, very well. He's talked to Vic, and he thinks it's a crapshoot. Like Peyton could go any given direction. And when I hear that, Zach, I think I go away from quarterback. I'm thinking that it's not going to be quarterback.
But it's also, if that's the case, Peyton's doing what's in the best interest of Denver, is keeping his options open. Is not like Kenneth, the expression he used earlier, is negotiating or competing against themselves. If they don't have to sign an Alex Smith, they don't have to. If they don't have to trade for Watson right now, they don't have to. If they don't have to fully commit to Drew Lock right now, they don't have to. They can take this fluidly as it goes along, where even up until April 28th, the first round of the draft, if Trey Lance is on the board, they can make up their minds in that second. Okay, we're on the Lance bandwagon. He's going to be our future, and Locke is in the rear view now. So I do still think it'll be Locke, but all options are open right now, and that's what you should want from your general manager for your team at this stage of the offseason.
Well said, Tony G. Hey, man, thank you for that super sticker, my friend. Seriously, means a lot to us, and it all adds up. So thank you, my dog. All right, let me check here while John's getting another one queued up. Let's grab Hugh G reaction. Oh, let me just grab it real quick, John.
I don't think you want to say it correctly, Chad.
Oh, I got it. Okay, yeah, you're right. Thank you, dude. You saved me. See,
that's what I do.
I think this was a low-key, soft, like troll, hoping that I would say it. I get caught on this, dude. I get caught. So, Hugh, you almost got me, dog.
Better than it being a hard troll.
Timetable on when I'll get a quarterback. And if we don't get Alex Smith, then who would you mind as our QB hedge? Honestly, at this point, and by the way, you reach out, connect with us on Twitter. Appreciate that super chat. Welcome. Stick around. You're not a name, obviously, we recognize here. So thank you. But if it's not Alex Smith, I don't believe in Mitchell Trubisky at all, especially as a fail-safe. For me, it'd be more about, well, let's maybe Brett Rippon's our backup in 2021. If you're rolling with Drew, who else is out there that makes any sense whatsoever that's actually attainable for the Broncos as that fail-safe?
No, I'm thinking off the top of my head, it's Alex Smith and then literally nothing else on the open market. I think like Colt McCoy's out there and Flacco's out there. The trade market, you can go after someone like Gardner Minshew. I don't advocate for that at all. Or you can roll with Locke as your starter, or you can draft a guy, or you can trade for Watson. But I'm still saying the more the time that goes on with the Broncos unsettling their quarterback situation until they make that move, or if they make that move for a veteran, it's really leading me to believe that the next quarterback will come through the draft. That's the only – I don't see Rippon as the backup this year. I just don't see him as the number two. I don't see him fitting anything the Broncos want to do this year, and he doesn't have the upside of the ceiling to keep the Broncos afloat if something were to happen with Locke or if his play nosedives. So I don't know. It's definitely fluid right now.
All right, John. Was it Willie? I think you had Willie queued up. Go ahead and grab him. And while you're doing that, whoops, let me share screen this real quick here. Thank you, Willie. By the way, dude, means a lot. You're a stud. He says, not gonna lie, I'm super salty about Lindsay. Yeah, you could probably tell we are we are as well, my friend. We've we don't pull any punches, and especially on something that righteous indignation, righteous anger. I mean, it's BS the way he's getting done.
I don't blame anyone who's upset about Lindsay, and I don't blame anyone who's kind of, lashing out against the Broncos for doing him dirty, not just this year, but last year as well with the Melvin Gordon signing, not paying your guy who's done well for you, but giving an outside guy, a former rival, $8 million a year. It's just,
dude, wow. I thought Tyrod signed.
He did. That's not current.
Okay, so let me just look. A.J. McCarron, pretty sure he's still unsigned. As you mentioned, Colt McCoy, RG3, this is the saddest
class of quarterbacks I have ever seen. It's a collection of failed talent. Look at this.
Nate Sudfeld is not a fail-safe. Maybe Ryan Griffin, not a fail-safe. Blaine Gabbert is like the least safe fail-safe. Geno Smith, same. Mike Glennon, same.
There's a Vikings quarterback. I recommended him. I did an article about him a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Mannion, yeah.
Yeah, Mannion. I got a chance to scout him up close and personal at the Senior Bowl the year he came out. But he doesn't really have much NFL experience. So if you're going to go with him, you might as well go with Brett and save the money, et cetera. Recruit him. Go ahead, Zach. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I thought you were going to go down the list, but CJ Beathard, he's an Iowa guy, pro style familiarity. He could be an option, comes from Shanahan's system, but there's not a lot out there right now. It's pretty slim pickings.
Man, Crudum, you have just been phenomenal. It's been so great to get to know you, what little bit we have in this, in the super chats and in the comments. And, but you've really come on strong and established yourself with authority, my friend, as a superstar. It'd be fun to get you on the show. If you ever want to come on the show, reach out to us. All right. Let us know and we'll set up a time. He says, quick plug. I got my Manscaped package with the huddle code. Attaboy, dude. Thank you. Greatest grooming product I've personally used. I ordered my MHH swag. I'm excited to rep for Denver and the football priests all in one. How likely is it that we trade back now? Dude, Crudum, checks in the mail, dog. All right. Your commission is coming. All right. Trust.
Thank you.
For real. Thank you, my friend. It means a lot to us. Seriously, it means a lot to us. When you get your swag, and maybe you've already gotten it, when you do get it, send us that profile pic. We'll give you some love on MHH, Instagram, and Facebook. And yeah, that's awesome, dude. Let us know also about coming on the show. But how likely is it, Zach, that the Broncos trade back now?
Someone asked me on Twitter yesterday, because there was a report that the Broncos were sniffing around. I believe it was Michael Davis from Los Angeles. They wanted to sign 2 cornerbacks, and I was asked, if they do sign 2 corners, would it mean that Caleb Farley's off the board? What would be more likely? Micah Parsons, number 9. In that scenario, I think the more likely outcome is a trade back. And George Paton, like we've been mentioning, Chad, the last couple months now, has left those breadcrumbs and leading us to believe that he wants to stack those picks. And if they sign another corner or acquire another corner, he's not pigeonholed into going for a Farley, going for a Surtain, going for a J.C. Horn. He can really have flexibility. And if his guy's not there, if his guy is Trey Lance and he's not there, he could move back. He can move back and get a J.C. Horn. He can move back and get a Zaven Collins. I believe that is the more likely outcome than anything else. The Broncos moving back in round 1, more so than drafting a quarterback.
All right, so superstar alert, Drew here. We got you on deck for Monday night, right? This coming Monday. So we look forward to that, my friend. Appreciate the super chat. As always, much love to you, dog. He says, pick your running back. One has 379 yards in 3 seasons. The other has 2,500 and a Pro Bowl in that time. Yeah.
Preach.
We feel you, dog. We feel you for sure. K-Hop, thanks for the super sticker. Hey, you, right back at you. I don't know if we're saying that correctly, but appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. Primetime Puma. Priest, did you see the money that Booker got? Shake my head, but Lindsay not worth $2 to $3 million. Come on.
From the Raiders, the contract that Booker, I don't know what he got.
I think that's what. Let's see. I don't know of any current running backs besides Devontae.
He did pretty well last year. I mean, he showed out against Denver in one of those games, but
he signed a 1-year $1 million contract with the Raiders. That was, I want to say that was last year, right? So is he? Yeah, that was last year's deal.
I don't think he resigned either.
No. He is signed. So he's got here, let me read this. Quote, Devontae Booker signed a 2-year contract with the Giants on March 16th. Contract value.
I did not even see that. Wow.
I didn't either. $5.5 million with $2 million guaranteed.
Wow.
To earn an additional $500K through rushing performance incentives. So he's going to average, almost $3 million a year on a 2-year deal. And he's only 29. And you know what? He showed last year that he's got some chops. He really got to kind of flex on his receiving skills. He can pound the rock, but he's a really good pass down back.
I don't know how much he's going to like Jason Garrett's offense, but I didn't even realize that he joined New York. Wow, that's surprising. And again, there's still some value in the NFL for running backs, and I don't think it's disputable that Phillip Lindsay has more talent. Take away the pass catching woes. To me, Phillip Lindsay is a way more talented runner than Devontae Booker, and Devontae Booker still got a multi-year contract, and Phillip Lindsay can't even get a second-round tender. It just adds to that narrative to me even more.
Most definitely. Anthony, thanks, my brother. Good to see you. Really appreciate the support. He says, what's up, my guys? Just want to drop in and show some love. This free agency feels a little weird this year, but I do got a feeling Denver has something big in store for us. Denver Broncos for life. Hey, man, appreciate it. And if they do, the only thing it could be at this stage is some kind of tectonic trade for Deshaun Watson. But again, careful what you wish for, my dog. Careful what you wish for.
A trade for Watson or a quarterback selection in round 1. I believe those things are on the table still.
Zach, we really do have to speed it up here and go like supersonic. Supersonic, yes. Brandon, man, that's your 3rd super chat tonight. Thank you, dog. Thank you. Who in free agency do you want to sign for the defensive line? Well, let's take a look at the D-line real quick. Let's see who else is out there.
Demarcus Walker. I'm bringing him back.
I would agree. I know people, some of our great colleagues even that, no, I want to take quarterback off. Hold on.
All he did was make plays, and he was flourishing last year. And again, you put him on that line with Draymond and Shelby. You got Vaughn, Chubb coming back. That secondary, I mean, he can be a beast and really live up to that second-round billing.
Okay, so here's a quick rundown. Okay.
Definitely not Tyrone Crawford. For sure not.
Quan Short is still available. And he's 32, I guess. So nah. And Ndamukong's out there still. Daquan Jones still out there. Let's see. Quentin Jefferson. Maybe. Did Rankin sign? He's out there. That's my guy right here. Go see what it would take to get this dude signed up. Sheldon Rankins. I like him. Shamar Stephen is a guy that Peyton knows, former Viking.
Corey Peters is kind of interesting.
Corey Peters, a former Cardinal. Danny Shelton, basically a year-by-year mercenary. He gets 1-year deals left and right.
Wasn't he a Browns first-rounder?
First-round pick, yeah. Another guy I got to scout up close at the Senior Bowl. Really down-to-earth, humble cat. Talked to him quite a bit. Very, very good guy, but just hasn't really been able to cut it in the league.
A lot of names out there. Yeah, he got a new contract from Baltimore, so good for him.
Good for him, dude. That's great. I love seeing that. Christian Covington, nah.
Former Broncos there, and Kerr and Pecco.
Yeah, indeed.
Damon Harrison, Snacks Harrison's on the open market. That's wild to me. That guy was like the premier nose tackle when he was with the Jets and the Giants. It's amazing how fast their careers fall off.
If you were doubtful on Purcell, then maybe you sign him, depending on what he wants. But you've got the run stuffing, gap plugging 0-1 technique nose tackle. Gavin, thank you, dog. Appreciate you. You're another cat that's really come on strong of late, and it's been great. Keep it up, man. He says, "What's up, guys? I think we are going to regret when Lindsay leaves and starts to go off on another team. I know we will. Will the Broncos actually regret that? I don't know.
No, it's okay because Mike Boone's here now, so no worries."
Rello Takeover in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. He wants to know what our grade would be on Peyton so far. What was it? I think on Monday after those 2 signings, I think I was like a C+. And since then, they bounced Kareem. They're basically bouncing Lindsay, re-signed Vaughn, and now Boone. I'm still sticking with about a C+, dude, honestly, so far. Maybe that changes. I hope it changes, through retrospect, right? A year or 2 down the road, but that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, I was going to say C+, B-, somewhere in that range. It might be a little generous to give him a B-, but this is like in school where you have a lot of little quizzes and little, busy work. The weight of his grade is going to be determined by what he does at quarterback this offseason in the next month or so. Is he going to stay with Drew Lock? Is he going to make that trade for Watson? Is he going to pick up someone like Alex Smith or Gardner Minshew? Is he going to draft a guy? His grade overall, and ask us again on April 29th. That's what it will be determined on.
Michaela, good to see you. Really appreciate you talk about a superstar in the house. She wants to know, what is your opinion about Deshaun Watson being accused of the indecent conduct in 2 civil lawsuits? So, we got to stray away from speculation, Michaela. But here's what I'll tell you is Deshaun Watson, sometimes you hear like these horror stories of the serial killer who got caught and the people next door never would have guessed. This guy was the nicest guy. Went to church every Sunday. No way you would ever know that you hear that, all right? But I take those type of little anecdotal stories with a grain of salt. Deshaun Watson, to me, that doesn't really seem to fit his character, but you never know. You never know. But for now, that's all unfounded. So no one should be running to any conclusion, whether you believe it or don't believe it, let it play out. But it tells you a lot that the first thing they did was they wanted a settlement from him, first a 6-figure settlement before they even responded or even before it went to court. So that tells you a lot about the veracity and the motivations of this report. It's not necessarily someone looking for justice. At least that's the implication for someone saying, here, we're not even going to put this before a judge yet. If you'll give us, $250,000. You got to question the motives a little bit when that was the tactic, according to Watson.
That's what I was going to say. That's coming from him, so we don't really know the full story. I tend to believe this was kind of a money grab. This is kind of much ado about nothing, a smear campaign, as John Roberts said. I did read, though, that Watson has retained Rusty Hardin as his attorney, who is one of the better attorneys, and I believe he's going to get him off in this situation, so I think he'll be okay.
Sweet comment here from another level. Appreciate what y'all do each week. It's the only place I tune in for my Broncos news. Thank you, Doc. All I got to say is, when was the last time either of you did a desk pop? Hashtag Dirty Mike and the boys. Hashtag I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly. Dude, thanks for from one, the other guy's fan to another. Thank you for that, dog. See, this type of stuff is the spice of life for yours truly. I love that, dude. Great movie. Great movie. Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell. I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
I can see it in my head right now. I can hear it. Great movie.
They're not all first-round picks, all right? Another level. Fluke Guy Games, good to see you, man. Appreciate you. So say we don't sign a veteran quarterback and we don't get Watson, then what do? Do we draft someone to battle Drew, or do we rock with Rippon? I don't think we need to take one in the first, but what are some options? So let me leave that up for a second. So, Zach, what do we do if you don't get Watson, you don't sign the vet? Well, that tells you that the plan is Drew. If they do that, it means the plan all along was Drew. And so they're not taking the quarterback at round 1 under this. As he said, I don't think we take one in the first. I don't either. So what you do is you roll with Rippon, see if someone gets spit out at some point around the NFL. Their cap casualties occur throughout the whole NFL calendar. And if not, I think Pat Shurmur loves Brett Rippon. Brett Rippon is like a coach's dream because he's so solid between the ears. He just attacks it and masters the scheme, knows all the nomenclature. He's just a very handy dude to be around. Maybe that's how it ends up shaking out, Zach, is it's Drew and Rippon round 2.
I'd be stunned if that was the setup for this season. You know what, though? It's worth wondering, and I thought for sure, Chad, the Broncos would be in the market for a veteran quarterback. We've heard all the reports. They want to saddle lock with competition or someone to be a mentor. We thought it could be Fitzpatrick or Andy Dalton or maybe still Alex Smith, but they haven't really made any moves. Obviously, they haven't been linked to anyone, reputably. We don't know what they're going to do yet. And it says to me something interesting, maybe a little conspiratorial, but this inactivity comes after they went to the Trey Lance Pro Day. And Trey Lance had a really good pro day, and he took a contingent of Broncos scouts and Broncos front office people there. Maybe there's something to it. I might be wrong. I have been wrong before, but the longer this goes without a resolution, I just don't think Rypien is going to be the guy to back lock up based on every single thing we've heard from people inside and outside the organization.
Jess, thank you for that super chat, brother. Good to see one of our long-standing superstars. He says, throw the ball on every play if Lindsay leaves. We feel you, dude. We feel you.
I love the pettiness.
Hey, man, it's and the emotion is real. Lindsay's a stud. Orange Crush 7, a newer name on the super chat. Connect with us on Twitter, my friend. Welcome. Thank you. We really do got to bustle through these remaining supers. Lindsay will wind up being another Shaq Barrett. They'll regret letting him get away. I already can't stand Fangio and Shermer. I hope Peyton doesn't add to that list. We agree with you on the likelihood of him going wherever he lands, doing well. Because they're going to have a plan for him. The Broncos don't want to plan for him. Why? Right. What? Why?
A good coordinator, even though he's not a traditional RB1 workhorse, a good coaching staff will find a way to get him on the field. Like a Darren Sproles. He was never a traditional running back, but he had longevity for how many years in the NFL, Chad? Philadelphia, New Orleans, whatever he did, he had 2 elite coaching staffs using him to his best abilities. That's what Phillip Lindsay can be, but the Broncos don't want that. It's baffling.
All right, real quick, John, we need the great brows. We need Jason. I don't have access to them. The stream jumped. There's Jason Whittington. Thank you, my friend. That's another newer name on Super, so connect with us on Twitter. Welcome. Thank you, my dog. The great Browse, I think. Browse has got to be Browse. While you're finding that, let me grab John Houston. Literally. Thank you, John. Again, literally see no point taking a quarterback at 9, not really giving Fangio a fair last stand to win. Also, so a rookie quarterback can learn back-to-back years new playbooks. Also, you're going to give him more than 2 years to develop. All great points, dude. I feel you on that. I literally share a brain perfectly with you on all of those points.
Then again, fairness has no place in the NFL, as evidenced by the Phillip Lindsay, the situation there. Peyton's loyalty is not to Vic Fangio. Peyton's loyalty is to the Denver Broncos. And if his quarterback is there based on what he feels about that pick and he feels about that quarterback, he will take him. So I still don't think it's likely, but it's definitely on the table.
Yes. John, I'm going to grab this Brandon one real quick while you're finding the browse. Appreciate it. That's what for? I'm losing count, Brandon. Thank you for your freaking support, dude. It's blowing our mind. Thank you, dog. What about Mark's Miat? What is that? Ito? Mark's. Zach, I need you.
I don't know. I'm tapping out for this one.
Brandon, clarify. Maybe a typo. Clarify. We'll get it before we dip out. The great Browse, another newer name. Connect on Twitter. Welcome. Thank you. Is there any possibility we get Watson and not sell the whole team for him? I also am frustrated that Phil is not getting any respect compared to Melvin. I think the closer you get to the draft, I think that there's reason to believe that the closer you get to the draft, Zach, the more the price will come down because the desperation of Houston will probably start to climb and increase because, you can say, oh, we want to play hardball and look, no skin off our teeth if he wants to hold out because then he has to pay back the bonus. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but you still don't have a plan at quarterback. Whereas if you just deal him and get it out of the way, move on, get it off your plate, now you just brought in this haul of capital that you could ostensibly some of that used to get that next quarterback, whether it is Trey Lance for you, whether it's freaking, Zach Wilson, whoever it might be. But the longer you dither, the longer you let those wheels spin, the less teams are going to be willing to pony up because they're putting their plan in place. They don't have all year to decide, well, what do we do? Is Houston going to pony up? Thanks, Joshua, for the stars, doc. So I think there is a decent reason to believe it could climb. It could drop a little, the price for Watson, but I still think it's going to be a freaking pretty penny, dude, when it all comes, out in the wash.
And now, though, a lot of his rumored landing spots, like Chicago, for example, they're filling their quarterback needs. And it's only a matter of time before teams like Denver or teams like San Francisco also fill that need. They can't wait around. But if you trust what the report that came out, the Bears made a serious offer for Russell Wilson. They were declined. They were told he wasn't available. I believe I read it was 3 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and 2 starting players. And if you're willing to give that up for Russell Wilson, even though he won a Super Bowl, but he's much older, that would be, to me, the floor for Deshaun Watson. And that is pretty much selling the whole team. Because, again, it's not just the theoretical players you're giving up in the draft picks. You're giving up tangible starters. So that's Bradley Chubb and Draymond Jones, for example, or Bradley Chubb and Justin Simmons if he signs a long-term contract. I just don't see it being realistic or really the right approach for someone as measured and forward-thinking as George Payton. I still don't see it.
Willie, good to see you again. Thanks, Doc. Also, my free agent grade so far, C+. Not a huge fan so far. We feel you. We share a brain with you on that. Dave from Georgia, again, thank you, my friend. I'll be rooting for Gordon every time he touches the ball. Hashtag let him hate. So will we, dude. Seriously. I mean, if they're sporting the orange and blue, then, that's the way it is. But it still stings a little what's the way they're doing Phillip dirty.
And I saw a comment that said, okay, well, if you're rooting for the quarterback like Flacco, why not root for Melvin Gordon? I did root for Melvin Gordon. I don't necessarily hate the player, but I hate the contract. And I think that's reasonable. He's the 5th highest paid running back in the NFL, and he did less than 1,000 yards last year. So it's not that the Phillip Lindsay situation or Melvin Gordon, the individual. I just hate the contract. And that's the same thing for Darby. But I'll be rooting for Darby. I'll be rooting for Melvin Gordon. And I would root for Deshaun Watson if he was the quarterback next season.
John, is that you, by the way? On Twitch? Okay. I just wondered. I don't know if someone was trying to impersonate the great Vaughn Beast, but just wanted to be sure. All right. We really are in a rush here. We got to get these last couple, 2, 3, and then we got to go, guys. John Clay. How do I say that? Eventine? I think Watson to Denver is starting to firm up. The longer this drags on, it starts to look solid. John, thank you for the super chat, my friend. We'll see. That kind of, it could be. But the longer it waits, Zach, the more desperate I think you'll see Houston become.
That's right.
All right, real quick, John. So we've got one more from Brandon about end of 2021. Another one from Christian about a T-shirt.
Wow. Van Noy to New England, apparently.
Ooh.
Belichick is like going full 2010 Philadelphia Eagles dream team. That man has spent serious capital.
Man, my stream is screwed up here. Bear with me one second. All right, so what do you got there, John? That's still the great browse. All right, hold up. Let me do a reverse engineer on Brandon Harden, which I think that's number 5 for the day, Brandon. So you're a freaking animal, dude. We love it. We appreciate it. Let me get this in here real quick. So here's this question. Brandon says, when the end of 2021 season ends, when the dust settles down, we will all know whether Drew Lock will be the QB of the future. Yeah, I think you'll know for sure, right? By the end of this year, I think you'll know. You'll know. And that's if he does get is given the chance to be the guy again, even though he's going to probably have to fight and battle for it. Like if he gets that chance, whether he sinks or swims, you'll know by the time the 2021 season is in the books.
I was going to say his short-term future we'll know in the next month because if the Broncos obviously don't draft a quarterback or trade for Watson, it means Locke is the guy. So, we'll know very short-term what the Broncos are thinking.
Christian, thanks for the super, my friend. The email, milehighhuddle@gmail.com. When you email us, leave your address and your T-shirt size, my friend.
And apparently, Chad, he meant Marcus Mariota, the name that we couldn't decipher.
Oh. All right. So
I don't know how autocorrect kind of, messed that up, but
so. Where is it? Oh, wait, no. What about Marcus Mariota? To my knowledge, the Raiders haven't cut him yet, right? Or have they?
I think he's on the team option. Yeah. I believe. Yeah, I haven't seen that he's on the open market. I wouldn't trade for him.
I wouldn't trade, no. But if he hits the market, I wouldn't hate it. Like it would go Alex Smith, Mariota, but still, I wouldn't trade for him unless it was like maybe a 7th round pick. But
Alex Smith, Mariota, and literally everybody else.
Boise man, good to see you, my friend. Are you on Twitter? If so, connect with us, man. Good to see you. Do you think Peyton is letting Fangio and Shermer have more say on roster moves? So if the season doesn't go good, there are no excuses. The Lindsay decision feels like it has Shermer's fingerprints on it. Oh, definitely, dude. Definitely. Most def. Like the whole thing with Lindsay is Shermer oriented. If Rich Scangarello isn't fired after the 2019 season. I firmly believe that when John Elway stood up there at the end of that season and said, yeah, we're going to take a look at signing Phil, that deal gets done. Instead of paying Melvin Gordon, and here we are today. I really do.
I don't know, though. I mean, I don't know that it was Pat Shurmur all the way. I mean, I would not tendering Lindsay. You can make the case because he was so badly used last year, but the Broncos replaced him with a former Viking. So that kind of, adds more to the story there for me that Peyton made the final call. But listen, Chad, we were even complaining. I was a big Scangarello fan. Not many people were. I thought he did a hell of a job considering the circumstances, but he was running Lindsay up the middle as well a lot. I mean, there's someone in that building. I don't think his name is Pat Shurmur that was kind of the driving force behind the Lindsay departure here.
Could be. All right, guys, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure we're caught up with everybody. If for some reason we did miss someone, reach out to us and let us know, and we will make it up to you tomorrow night. Trust, because tomorrow night, Mile High Mailbag time, I think we'll see some more, something more will shake loose, I'm sure, between now and then. It feels like we're still in the first wave, but it feels like things are kind of trending. So we'll see how it shakes out. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. The Wizard jumping in. Good to see you, bro. Mike in the house. Thank you. I mean, does it really matter who the quarterback for the Raiders is? They apparently are doing the same thing as the Chiefs and cutting all their linemen. That's true. Hashtag Raiders suck. Yeah, they cut, Trent Brown gone, and then Rodney Hudson, the all-pro center, gone.
Yeah, but Kansas City upgraded, though, because they signed Thuney and they signed Kyle Long today. So that's an upgrade in my book from Schwartz and Fisher.
But those guys are interior for what it's worth, right? Both.
I think Long is going to play tackle. I know Thuney's a guard, but
Rocco, good to see you, bro. Thank you for the 11th hour super chat. Hey, man, means a lot. He says, sorry about the jinxing Watson mania, guys. I'll watch my words next time. Anyway, hashtag Go Broncos. Yeah, he's referring to a tweet. So
blame that man. He's the one that brought Deshaun Watson mania back to Denver. So take your complaints up with Rocco.
All right, guys, as we get out of here, quick reminder, follow the podcast on Twitter at HuddleUpPod, the main account at Mile High Huddle, Zack Kelberman at Kelberman NFL, myself at at Chad and Jensen, and John K at John K MHH is Buona Beast. Other than that, guys, we're way long, but a lot's been happening, so we're happy to go long. Shout out to Kenneth Booker. Follow him on Twitter at Kenneth MHH. Zach, sign us out of here, and we'll see everybody tomorrow night, and we'll announce the giveaway for this week's. Oh, the stars. Yeah, we got to do the stars. You sign us off, and I'm gonna find the stars real quick before we officially hit the end of the stream.
Yeah, it's our coming up to another end of the week podcast, our favorite one, the Mile High Mailbag. If you guys have any questions going into tomorrow night, be sure to hit us up on Twitter at Chad and Jensen, at Kelberman NFL, or at John K MHH. We will be able to work it into the show, but I hope you guys have a great Wednesday. Take care, and Chad, sign us off with the stars tonight.
Yeah, let me. These great star senders. Here is the shout out that you all deserve. We wish that stars showed up better on StreamYard, but in the meantime, shout out to Ian. Thank you. Randy, Gary, Brad, Richard, Ronald. Thank you. Josh, John.
Thank you,
every one of you. We appreciate you. And I know most of you are supporters over there on Facebook. So thanks, guys. But as Zach said, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 6 Mountain, 8 Eastern.
Go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.